guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I have my friend Stacy with me. Stacy, please tell everyone where we can find you.
So I am Clothes Live On. You can find me pretty much anywhere with that name. So like Instagram, YouTube, Poshmark, eBay, pretty much any platform I'm on, it's Clothes Live On.
Perfect, and I'll link that down below in case anyone wants to check her out after the video today. So Stacy, I know you've been a full-time posher for almost a year now, but how long have you been poshing?
I started in March of 2017, so I just hit my 3-year mark recently.
Hey, congrats.
Thank you.
And do you list just on Poshmark or multiple platforms?
I am a multi-platform, so I do Mercari and eBay. I've occasionally done like Facebook buy-sell trade groups also, definitely like less so in that, but I cross-list all 3 platforms for every single item.
Oh, awesome. I do the same. Is there any advice that really sticks out to you when it comes to different platforms?
I think that I've noticed kind of with things like Mercari, if it doesn't sell in a week on Mercari, I typically find it's not going to sell on Mercari. It's just like a fast flip or almost not at all. And eBay, I've seen like a trend that it takes longer for my items to sell on eBay. I think I'm not as strong of an eBay seller as some people. I don't know all the tricks for eBay. So Poshmark is like my most consistent platform that I sell on.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and Posh is also my most consistent as well. So with Poshmark, what was the transition like to full-time?
So it didn't feel that different. I think at first it was just balancing like, okay, I have all this free time and I'm not adhering to anyone's schedule anymore. So what do I want my days to look like? And I just kind of had to try different things to figure out what really worked for me in that aspect.
So what does your day look like when we're in quarantine?
Yeah, so quarantine's obviously made it a little weird. I started off like kind of setting alarms, but I've stopped doing that because I naturally wake up between 7 and 7:30, and I think that's a productive time to start my day. And then if my body ever needs to sleep in more, I feel like that's fine, and I have that luxury. And I've just stopped trying to do the same thing every day. That was kind of a mistake I felt like I made for myself when I started, was trying to have it be like, oh, I'm going to get up every morning, I'm going to measure like 5 things, I'm going to photograph them and list those 5 things. And I just don't enjoy having a day that looks exactly the same every day. So instead, I will like spend an entire day like measuring stuff, researching it, figuring out what I'm going to price it, and then the next day I'll photograph that and I'll get things drafted, and then I'll slowly list it, and then, you know, repeat with sourcing, just so every day looks a little bit different.
I love that. So aside from your dislike of everyday structure, what else? What's the thing out of the whole process? What do you dislike the most?
Definitely putting away inventory. I probably do that like once a month. I've always said if I ever hire an employee, like I'm never doing that again.
Do you have a system? Are you in the bins? Do you hang things?
I'm in the bins, so I have like 2 bins that after they're photographed, they hang out there. They're just like unlettered bins, and then I have letter and number system. So I actually use mini binder clips that I clip onto the items, and then so when I have a free spot, it goes into a drawer, and I just go in there and I pull out a free spot and assign it that letter and number, and then put it away.
I love that little mini binder clip idea. That's so helpful and sustainable, I feel like.
Yeah.
With the process, what's your favorite thing?
Probably listing. I enjoy kind of seeing how quickly do things get liked, how much does it get shared, and all of that, and just like that excitement of like how much can I get listed in a day, and how much of that will sell within a week.
I love that. So, do you think the most important part of a listing is?
I would say the title.
Right.
I think, especially as a multi-platform thing, like that's what's most important on eBay. That's searchable stuff. But even on Poshmark, I know when you search things in the search bar, they'll pull from your description too. But in terms of what's a buyer going to see right off the bat, it's going to be your cover photo and that title. So I would say those 2 aspects, things that people are going to see right away, which would be the cover photo and your title.
How would you build your title?
So I do have a structure where I do the brand name first, I do style name if I can find it, and then I will end it with size, and I might throw in some little descriptors along the way if there's room for it. Kind of, like adding or removing as I have characters left.
I love that. And no right answer, but if it's new with tags, is that something you put in the description or sorry, the title or the description? And if in the title, how do you word it?
I rarely put it in the title. I wouldn't say never, but not very often, since I do put it in my description, and I mark it, on Poshmark as being new with tags, which is going to give it that little bubble off to the side anyway, so a buyer can quickly see it's new with tags. If I put it in the title, I just do the NWT. I don't spell it out.
Love it. So now I want to backtrack to the whole thrifting process, because I have to ask you, since you live in or near Chicago, how much time do you spend in thrift stores, and how often do you go to Last Chance?
So I, before quarantine, was going to Last Chance about once a week, sometimes every other. My preference with Last Chance is going on Fridays. If anyone's not familiar, that is the Nordstrom. It's their lowest tier. They basically get a lot of returns or like leftovers. So they have a color of the week every week. It'll be 50% off Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday at open it goes to 80% off. So I like to go there. I can find some really good deals that way. Every Friday is Black Friday at Last Chance. There's a line to get in the door. And then my system now has been like, after I go to Last Chance, I kind of go to all the Goodwills that are out in that area. And I've pretty much been thrifting only one day a week, sometimes twice a week, kind of depending on how fast I was about getting the inventory I have listed. But definitely, like, sourcing is the fun part, but if everything isn't listed, then I can't make money off of it.
Very true. So when you go into your stores, what is the first section that you're going to hit?
I like jeans the most, especially at places like Goodwills. I think the way they're hung, it's just easy to flip through them quickly. I enjoy listing jeans. I think they're pretty easy to photograph and measure and all of that. So that's usually the first spot I hit. And I also really enjoy dresses and shoes. Those three categories are going to be the highest selling point for me and make me the most profit. So I really focus on those three.
I really agree with that. With your jeans, what is your go-to brand?
Probably Madewell. I find that quite a bit, and it is a really solid seller still, even though Madewell in general, I feel like has kind of overall gone down in terms of how much money you can expect. Their jeans have stayed pretty consistent.
I absolutely agree with you, where Madewell, some pieces are just not selling like they used to. Are there any other brands that you feel like used to move really well for you that have just kind of, the trends have changed and so now they're not selling as well?
Anthropology is probably the number one I think of that. I used to pay up for Anthropology. It used to be super exciting, and now I pass on almost all of it that I find. It's just like I'm lucky to get $10 for it most of the time, unless it's like a very current piece, which I actually don't find a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. With thrifting, is there one brand that's your dream brand, like you hope to come across it someday, or maybe you already have?
Well, okay, if I'm talking about ones I already have, Rothy's is always up there with most resellers.
Yeah.
Probably on my bucket list for like over a year is Spell and the Gypsy. I have just been like on the hunt for that. And more recently, I'm looking for Kate, which like they have a whole variety of stuff, but their jeans do really well, and it's like a blogger favorite currently, so I'd love to find that.
Oh, I agree. Those are, and you're like the second person to say Spell the Gypsy. I think we all just, we put those vibes in our closet. When you first started with Poshmark, what is one piece of advice that you wish you didn't listen to?
Yeah, I was told early on that for Poshmark, I should be trying to find the retail price because you plug that in on your listing. But I've just found that it's not worth my time. If I come across that in trying to find the style name and it's like right there, then I'll add it. But otherwise I just put in a 0. I don't think it matters to Poshmark buyers, and it's really a waste of time to go out of your way to look for it.
But if you do know it, then you do plug it in?
Yes.
Okay, love that. And what's one piece of advice that has just, and it doesn't have to be that you picked up on right away, but the biggest piece of advice that has helped you the most?
I think just a piece of advice in general is not comparing yourself to someone who is in a much different position. So like if you just started reselling, it wouldn't be fair to compare yourself to me, someone who's full-time and been doing this for 3 years, we're on different pages. And I think the learning process is important. Like, definitely do your research, try and learn, but know that you need to figure things out and figure out what works for you, because what sells for me might not sell for you, and you might thrive in an area that I don't.
That is not only amazing reseller advice, but just amazing life advice in general. We are all on our own paths, and I identify with what you just said so much. That was such a powerful statement. How do you feel that Instagram, and I also know you do YouTube, how has that affected your resale business in any way?
I would say that it's overall helped. I think that, like I said, like the comparison game can be hard, but I like sharing my journey. I like helping people. That's a big reason why I do it, especially on YouTube. Like, I'm not monetized, but I'm still making videos all the time. I'm like a former preschool teacher, so I've taught like you, so I enjoy educating. And I feel like if I have knowledge, I'm willing to pass it on to people, and I don't expect anything in return. But I know that helps me too, where if I post a haul on YouTube, people see it, they might want it, and they'll go to my closet and buy it.
Oh, absolutely. And for those who don't already follow her YouTube channel, she just posted a video about Bolo Brands, be on the lookout brands for swimwear. And we're coming to summer, so I'm going to link that video down below as well, so you guys can check that out, because it's definitely some really good advice. And I know a lot of us struggle, especially when it comes to swimwear. So before we go, I would love to hear about your Poshmark community. Who are 3 PFFs that we should all be following?
Okay, yeah, definitely. First one would be Emily H. Munn. I feel like a lot of people probably know her. I've known her since before she had an Instagram. We actually met at the Chicago Posh Fest. We were both really new to reselling, so I've known her forever. Can't recommend her enough. She's like the sweetest person. Oliesa, simply Oliesa. She is a fellow like Chicago reseller. She has a reselling for profit workbook. Also can't recommend her enough. And then lastly would be my friend Annie, who is lovely things like _AV. She's also was a full-time Chicago reseller, just moved to Iowa. She's expecting a baby. So like, I feel like they're all at different places in their journey, and I can't recommend all 3 of them enough.
And of course, we can't talk about PFFs without talking about husbands. How does your hubs contribute to your business?
So he is very supportive. Obviously, like, we had to have that conversation about me going full time. That was a big jump for us from having this like consistent, reliable income to being like, we don't know. So that was great. He loves thrifting with me. Loves to do that. Hasn't been as much lately because my husband's actually a PhD student. He's about to finish, so he's in crunch time. But he's been very supportive, and I don't feel like I could have done this without him.
Well, Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today. For those who didn't catch it at the beginning, her Instagram, YouTube, and Poshmark handle is @ClothesLiveOn. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining us.